In this video, we are going to see how we can update ImGui and ImGui test engine and update the Python bindings inside ImGui Bundle. We are going to follow this track. First, we will need to reattach the submodules to the correct remote and branch. You see that there are a lot of submodules for ImGui Bundle, and for example, ImGui Test Engine is in a detached head mode. The changes that have been made are shown here. You can see that we have two remotes, one for the official version. This is the official repository for ImGui Test Engine. And we also have a remote named fork on which some changes were applied. Those changes are mostly changes in order to adapt ImGui Test Engine for Python bindings. This fork is located on GitHub, and we are using the ImGui Bundle branch. When updating ImGui Test Engine, we will be rebasing those changes onto official main. Now let's see the ImGui submodule. You can see that we have two remotes, the official remote and the fork remote. The fork repository is located on GitHub also, and the changes are on the ImGui Bundle branch. Once again, some changes were applied to ImGui, mainly in order to simplify the generation of the Python bindings. We will be rebasing those changes onto the docking branch of ImGui. Here is a summary of the steps we are going to take. First, we are going to reattach all the submodules to their upstream branch. Then, we are going to add a tag to our forks. Since we will be rebasing our changes, we need to make sure that the original version is still available on GitHub. This is why we need to push a tag. Then we will rebase our forks on the official branch changes. After that, we can run generate ImGui. This script will update all the Python bindings for ImGui, ImGui internal, and ImGui Test Engine. Then we are going to examine the changes, compile them, correct possible compilation errors, then run some tests in C++, then in Python, and finally we will commit the changes and push them. First, let's see how to reattach all the submodules to their upstream branch. The subfolder external bindings generation contains some scripts for the submodule maintenance. For example, all external libraries contains settings for ImGui, namely what is the official Git URL and the fork. Also, on the official Git URL, we are using the docking branch, and by default, all these actions, and especially attach branches, will set the upstream branch. So let's run it. It's finished, and we can now see that our submodules are using the correct branches, namely ImGui Bundle. So in the dev notes, we just run this step. Since we will be rebasing the changes, we need to add a tag to our forks. So we will need to run those commands in order to push the fork, since the current version is this one. So we'll push a tag named bundle 1000 beta 1. I will not do it in this video since it was done already. Then we need to rebase our forks on the official branch changes. So let's do it. First we rebase ImGui on the official docking branch. There might be some conflicts. Let's solve them. This conflict is easy to solve and was solved already by the tool. Let's continue the rebase. Okay, the rebase is finished. Now let's rebase ImGui test engine. We can now see that ImGui and ImGui test engine have changed, and now we will generate the bindings using the generate ImGui script. This script is here. As you can see, it will generate the bindings for ImGui, ImGui internal and ImGui test engine. Let's run it. It is now parsing the imgui.h file and generating the bindings. It is now generating the bindings for ImGui internal. And finally, it generates the binding for ImGui test engine. Now we need to examine the changes and check if they look okay. We can see that there are some changes in the bindings for ImGui, ImGui internal, and no changes for ImGui test engine, which means that the API of ImGui test engine did not change. Let's look at the changes in the API for ImGui. We see that the version number has changed. There is some changes on the API. They don't look scary. Everything looks okay, but we need to check. Some functions were suppressed, but actually they just changed position, etc. We check all the changes in the stub file, and we have the corresponding changes in the binding in the C++ file that will generate the bindings for Python. We also checked the changes inside the ImGui internal. The version number has changed, and we have small changes in the API. All in all, it seems that the changes are okay, and then we can use them in ImGui Bundle. So the next step is to compile and test that everything still works. So let's build the project. We see that there are some errors because the ImGui API has changed. Let's correct them. By the way, this file is part of ImVision. So we will need to change this file and push some changes into ImVision. So we can replace it by get window width. We relaunch the compilation. And we have another error here inside the ImGui command palette library, which we can correct the same way. And now everything compiles okay. Now we need to test that everything works correctly. So we will be running demo ImGui Bundle, which is a global demonstration that uses most of the features of all the libraries. So let's run it. So now we are inside it. We can test dear ImGui, we can test implot, and we can test the test engine. I need to go to all the demonstration to make sure that they work, but I will skip this for this video. Now we need to test that everything still works in Python. As you can see, I have installed ImGui Bundle in editable mode via this command, so that I'm now using directly the compiled Python module. Side note, I configured my compilation saying I need to compile the Python module and giving the Python executable. So I need to run this demonstration. It is located inside bindings, ImGui Bundle, demo Python, here. Let's run it. It started okay. ImGui test engine still works inside Python. Implot works. ImVision works. And so on. You need to check that all the libraries still work. In this example, there is a small issue here because the API changed. And actually it is simple. With the code completion, we see that it was renamed to no docking splits. And we have to make another change here. And it works. And we can see that the change works. We can now look at our changes and commit them. First, we commit the changes into submodules ImGui and ImGui Test Engine. Then we need to push the changes to 3 submodules which were modified. First, let's work on ImVision. Let's go to the directory. And such as for ImGui, we need to tag the submodule and then push the tag and rebase our fork. First we add the tag, then we push it. And concerning ImVision, we have 2 small changes that we can commit, like this. And then we push. Let's do the same on ImGui Text Inspect. First we add a tag and we push it. Then we commit the changes. So we commit the changes. And we see that we can rebase our changes on the main branch of the official repository. We could do it, but we will skip it for today. Finally, we do the same for ImGui command palette. Once we push the tag, we can commit the changes. Once again, we could rebase our fork on the official repository. We will do that another time. We can now push the changes to ImGui command palette. Finally, we can commit all the changes in the ImGui repository, ImGui Bundle repository. And then we push our changes into a branch. And lots of CI tests will be launched for the completion of the C++ code, the completion of the Python bindings, and the completion of the Emscripten application. We will need to check later that everything still compiles correctly. That's the end of this long video. Thank you very much for watching.